And we're also going to talk about the line placements because that is what's really crucial in this unlocking the code is what is the line placement for these spheres for your individual chart will give you, I think, a deeper understanding of what the sphere or the gate or the theme means based on what line you have associated with it, which means essentially we're talking about the profile here, okay? Human design reveals who you are energetically and who you came here to be. I'm Dana, human design specialist.
And I'm Haley, the human design newbie. Listen in as we explore how leaning into your authentic self is your ultimate path to success. Welcome to the Human Design Hive podcast. Let's get into it.
Hello, and welcome back to the Human Design Hive podcast. I am your solo host today, Dana Phillips, and I'm so grateful for you joining me here today. And I am solo today because Haley is on another adventure with her husband, and we could not get our schedules to line up in order to get an episode out to you this week. So I just decided to go solo again, which feels weird because I know I did some back at the end of last year, but Haley and I have been, even with all the transitioning in her life, we've been managing to keep it together, but it's okay. It's all good. She's getting some rest and relaxation that her projector self could definitely use. And her husband is getting some active time golfing, which he could definitely burn off some of that generator energy. So they're having a good time. And I am here holding down the fort. So today I wanted to continue our conversation about the gene keys. We introduced the gene keys last week. If you haven't listened to it yet, you can go ahead and go back and listen to it first to get a foundation of what we're talking about here. But if you're already somewhat familiar or you listened to last week, you know what's going on, then you're in the right place. So we talked about how the gene keys is a contemplative practice, meaning it's not really meant to be mentaled through. You definitely have to use your mind in order to read the gene keys to understand what it's trying to convey. But really, it's more of a contemplative practice that once you have taken in the information, you just kind of want to let it simmer, let it marinate, have it kind of in your awareness as you move throughout your day, your life. And we also talked about how there's, different ways of working with the gene keys in the sense that you can just have the basic gene key book, which has all 64 gene keys in there that he goes through the shadow, the gift, and the acidic frequency of each gene key, which, if you remember, these are these archetypal themes that are present uh, in the human design system as the gates, and it's derived from the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching. So we're talking about all these same things here. It's just a different way of understanding them. And so you could just have the book. You could, if you wanted to get a deeper understanding of every gate in your design, or just, learning about these gates, it's definitely a good add-on to that experience of trying to deepen your understanding because it goes through these shadow frequencies so well. You can also use the gene keys just by looking at your specific placements and what that means to you. If you have questions about why certain patterns you have, or curious about how it is you're supposed to express some of these themes or anything like that, you can certainly look at that. Richard Rudd really, as he contemplated all these themes, started to see that there was what he saw as a sequence, that there was a code in these themes, these gene keys that kind of help unlock this seeds of transformation, basically. So this is very deep work. It's very there's a lot of solitude in this work, in that you could have someone like me try to help guide you through it. You can have people that know a lot more about it than me help guide you through it. But ultimately, like anything else in personal development or inner work, it is a solo journey. And I can only help give you my understanding of what these sequences are, because you have to kind of travel it on your own. And I'm getting kind of convoluted. It's kind of hard sometimes when I don't have my partner in crime here to tell me if I'm making sense or not. So let me say that again. Maybe. So within this sequence, he saw that there was something he called the golden path. And I should probably tell you right now, if you don't already have a copy of your hologenetic profile, to hit pause, go over to genekeys.com and get your free profile. GENEKEYS.com, free profile. Put in your birth details. You'll get your own hologenetic profile so you can follow along. So if you need to hit pause, go ahead and do that. If you already have yours, well, let's just keep going. So this golden path that he talks about, which is really helping you just really get a deeper understanding of yourself. He says that there was these sequences that helped, like a code, unlock the whole thing. So the three sequences are the activation sequence, the Venus sequence, and the Pearl sequence. The activation sequence is really the foundation of your being, and it consists of the four gates of your incarnation cross. The Venus sequence is a lot longer. It deals with a lot more placements within your chart, a lot of different themes, but it's all about heart healing and healing core wounds, ancestral DNA. And so, as you can see, that takes a little bit longer. It's a little more complex, but the point being that you heal these wounds within yourself and you can start living with more of an open heart. And then the pearl sequence, the third sequence, is really once you have the understanding, the foundation of who you are, you're operating with an open heart, you are being authentic in your communications with people, you're not bringing your own stuff into everything. That really helps you understand what your unique talents, gifts are that you bring to this world, that you're here to share with the world. And that's the pearl sequence. So there is a lot of the um, things there that shows you how you are here to share what it is that is you with the rest of the world for the purpose of your own prosperity, basically. So that's in a nutshell. Today, however, we're just going to talk about the first one, the activation sequence. It's the basis, it's the foundation. I'm a 4-1. I'm about foundation. So that's what we're going to do. And I think it's also the easiest ones to know where to find in your chart, because you're talking about your sun and earth placements in your conscious and unconscious design. That being said, when you look at your hologenetic profile, you'll see lots of spheres, these round spheres, and they have numbers in them. Those are the gates or the gene key that it is associated with, and each one of those represents a planetary placement in your chart. So the activation sequence, like we said, unconscious, sun, and earth. So they're the ones on the outside of your chart. You'll see them. They kind of encompass the whole um, framework here, I should say. That's the outer edges, the green spheres. And he has a very specific way of laying them out, and there's his own purpose for doing that. And if you delve deeper into this work, you'll get a better understanding of it. But what I really, really am trying to keep it simple today, to not make too much of this a word salad that will just turn you off to the whole work and never look into it, because I know that can happen. And I know I have those tendencies. My line one tendencies are very strong here of wanting to really give you all the information possible. But I also know I need to start off a little bit easier, not throw it all at once on you. So we are going to talk about what the different spheres represent. And we're also going to talk about the line placements, because that is what's really crucial in this unlocking the code. Is what is the line placement for these spheres for your individual chart will give you, I think, a deeper understanding of what the sphere or the gate or the theme means based on what line you have associated with it, which means essentially we're talking about the profile here. Okay. So the first sphere, it's a very hard word to say. The first sphere is your life's work sphere. Unconscious, or excuse me, your conscious sun. This is the tip of the iceberg of your whole profile, right? And this is really what you're here to bring the world. It's a good indicator of what you may be best suited to do in the world, although not literally. It doesn't have to be a job, but it certainly could be. And as such, when you look at the um, gene key shadow here, the shadow of this sphere, you'll see a pattern in your own nature that prevents you at times from finding that kind of role that perfectly suits you in life. There's a lot of influence here in this sphere, so that's why he calls it life's work. This shadow of the life's work shows you a challenge that you will tend to meet over and over again in your life until you fully accept that this is your work, is to deal with this shadow. So this is the first step in any and all physical or spiritual personal development, transformation, whatever you want to call it. If you want to make a change, you have to first admit that there's something that you maybe want to change or something that you're dealing with. So in this instance with this shadow, you have to first really allow yourself to admit that you have this issue. It doesn't mean that you have to try to necessarily eradicate it, get rid of it. You just have to accept it, that it's there. And quite frankly, it's always going to be there in some way because every time you're challenged, it's your shadows that usually come out first because it's default behavior, right? So it's the behavior or the energy of non awareness. So if you are not aware how you are moving through life, quite frankly, or quite often, you're usually operating from the shadow more than from the gift, as a general rule. It's not an absolute. There are people that move through life very cleanly, but there's a good chance that that's probably not the case. So, anyways, the shadow here, you just have to have a look at it and really contemplate where you see it in your life. And then once you do that, once you take responsibility, okay, this is mine, I understand this about myself, then you have the power to transform it and to allow the gifts to come through. Because in every shadow, there is a gift. There is this transformation from a shadow to a gift. But as I said, it's not just one and done, it's something that you're always going to be challenged with. And as you move through these sequences, you'll see that as you embrace this process of understanding the challenge and moving through it, not backing away from it, not pushing it away, but allowing it to be there, it will open up all these other doorways in your profile, all the other gifts. For each shadow that you embrace and allow to be there, you can transform it, the more gifts that you open in your life. Wherever you recognize a negative pattern and embrace it, you unlock another gift, if that makes sense. And then the city in the life's work gene key is the divine essence of your work in the world. And really, even as you're looking at your shadows and contemplating that, it's a good idea to look at the city because it can help provide that balance of the lower and the highest expression of this frequency. And so you can hold that in your heart as knowing that there is the essence of this citic state within you. And just as the shadow is there, the city is there as well. And just to kind of keep that with you as you move through this process. So, as I said, with each key comes the specific line activations here. And we know we've talked about the line placements before. We've talked about profile here, but this is a really cool way of getting a really deeper understanding and seeing how they all kind of, as he said, is kind of like a code that helps you unlock the gifts within here. So your life work here, the life's work sphere, if you have a first line life's work, which means your profile is a 1-3 or a 1-4, Then the first line here he calls the creator. And the first line of each gene key or hexagram theme really expresses the inner essence of that archetype that it contains. And the first line always tells us that we're here to be creative. And if you have a first line of your life work sphere, then you're here to create something new. It's going to be your unique idea. Now, it can be an idea that emerges from other people's ideas. You know, you are certainly influenced by others, and there's lots of beautiful creative contributions out there. And you can build upon the work of others, but still your version must be original. And so you need to look at the gene key of your life's work and really contemplate what it's telling you. You have a great depth in wanting to find expression in the world as a first line. But whatever you do, and this expression has to be creative. There has to be this creative element. Because if you remember, if you look at the first hexagram, that is the creative individual, right? It is the individual bringing itself out into the world. And so if you have a first line life's work, you will have to find a way to be creative in the expression of whatever that gene key is. If you have a line two here, the line two here refers to as the dancer. And every second line has a bit of fluidity to it because the line two is also known as in human design as the natural learner, right? So the second line is all about self expression. It is the dancer, the natural, right? If you have a second line as your life's work, you'll have to find the gifts that come to you naturally, which generally is evident earlier in life. And it's where you excel when you're your natural self. It's something that just comes to you naturally. And we know that that's not often easy for the second line to see, of course. So your life's work here, if you are line two here, that would make you a 2-4 or 2-5, is you need to do the things that you're best at, things that you love, the things that you can do without even thinking about it. Because the archetype here of the dancer refers to those who have those inherent natural gifts that come when you just let it flow out of you. So contemplate that as you look at your life's work sphere. If you have a line three here, line three calls the changer. As we know, line threes are a little less predictable. There's always this element of change at heart with the line three, and it can seem a little bit more chaotic from the outside, and especially if you're looking at the shadow sides here. But if you have a line three as your life's work, then your challenge is to let go of what your mind and what society thinks is normal. You are the one who learns from the experience in life. You are here to try different things, experience things differently, meet different people, take on different roles. You are just here to enjoy the process. You learn through experience, which we know this. We've talked about this before with the line three. And if you try to compare yourself to others who seem more stable and have it together, you're going to end up undermining your true gifts. So when you contemplate the gene key of your life's work, you need to imagine it in its most dynamic and adaptable, changing form. The line four, life's work, is the server. And if you have a fourth line, you have the ability, this natural ability to influence other people depending on your attitude. It can either draw people to you or push them away. So the fourth line is all about people. So it's important to listen to others. And whatever your life's work gene key is, life's work sphere is, its healthiest expression is going to come through service. And this can mean lots of different things. It can be the level of quality or refinement of how you express it or how you bring it to your work, or it could literally be you're in a service profession. One thing to know about the fourth line is they do have the capacity to be incredibly influential because they are connecting with people. And usually this is a very service oriented, heart based expression of the gene key. And so the server archetype involves giving your gifts for the sake of others. In other words, you're here to really, you're in it because you love to see someone else flourish. You're here to help others shine. The line 5 life's work, if we remember, line 5s are all about practicality, right? So if you're to look at the expression as we've gone through it so far, the first line is that foundation. It discovers it. It's bringing something new. The second line expresses it. The third line experiments with it and adapts it. The fourth line spreads it. And then the fifth line makes it practical. If you have a fifth line, life's work, it's all about creating efficiency in the world. It's the archetype of the fixer. And with the fifth line, you have the capacity to go far in the world. When you think about the gene key of your life's work, think about how you could make a business out of this archetype and how you can use that archetype as a leader. Because remember, line 5s are meant to universalize the themes that it's attached to. So you have a lot of influence, and you're not meant to just influence a few. You're meant to influence all of us. So really keep that in mind as you're looking at that gene key in your sphere, in your life's work sphere, because ultimately your gifts, when well organized and made practical, are needed by many people. So the sixth line is seen as the teacher, and the sixth line always stands apart, almost as if it lives according to different laws. So the sixth line always really has this ever-present question in its heart of why. Why is this? What is the nature of things? They're always just trying to take that overarching view of everything. And when you're looking at the hexagrams, the sixth line is really the completion to the whole spectrum of wisdom contained in that hexagram. So here it is the same in this gene key. It's the taking all the wisdom represented in the other 5 lines. Does that make sense? So the sixth line has the capacity to be the wisest of all the lines. They simply see farther than others. And when you talk about the sixth line here being the teacher, it doesn't mean you have to actually be a teacher, but that you share the essential characteristics of what makes a really good teacher. You understand that people are all born with these different gifts, and you provide the right environment for these gifts to emerge on their own. And so if you have a sixth line here, then the contemplation, the process here for you needs to be rooted in patience. And in a way, you need to understand the approaches of all the other 5 lines before you can really answer that question of why. And so this is why with a sixth line, having that triphasic life, it takes time. You've got to experiment, you've got to observe, you've got to contemplate. And it takes a long time for these gifts here that are present in your life's work sphere to maybe fully emerge in your life. But that's okay. That's in your design. So if you have a sixth line here, you can relax. It's okay. It may take time, but it will always yield an answer for you. So if we're going to move on then to the next sphere, which is the evolution sphere, you'll remember that these are your sun and earth placements. And as such, it means that in this context, the gene keys, these are programming partners. They are opposites on the mandala. So wherever you see your sun placement on the mandala, directly opposite will be your earth gate. And so these programming partners are a unique genetic pairing. It's a unique part of the sequence here that makes up the golden path. And it's really consisting of 2 pairs of opposites, because if you also looked at the hexagrams of these 2 gene keys, you'll see that they are opposites of each other. And so there's this basic tension that is built into the story of your life, is this tension between these 2. And what's interesting here is this opposition essentially to your life's work sphere, the evolution sphere, and this helps present a primary challenge in your life, this tension between these 2 energies, because Your life's work sphere is what you're here to do. It's expression of what you do. Your evolution is the engine that drives you to do it. So we say in human design or even astrology that, well, actually, we say in human design that your sun placement is what you're here to shine in the world. The earth is what grounds you and able for you to do that. And so if you're looking at the gene key framework here in this sequence, he calls this the pathway of challenge, this tension between these two spheres. Because in order for your light to shine through your life's work, you have to be grounded and you have to really be able to transform the shadows in the evolution sphere. Okay. So I guess the best way to maybe exemplify that is from my own understanding is that my son is my life's work is 14. My earth, my evolution is 8. The shadows there in the 8 is all about mediocrity, and in the 14 is compromise. And so the gift there in the 8 is style, and the gift in the 14 is competence. And so the challenge that keeps coming up in my life or anyone with this is going to be around this idea of, am I being truly authentic? I have to really ground myself in authenticity. I can't just have a vanilla expression of myself. I'm not meant to do that. I'm not meant to be like everybody else, and I don't think any of us are, but I'm really meant to embody what it means to be my own unique expression. And when I do that, I stop living a life of mediocrity, of just kind of blending in and not making waves and, trying to be like everybody else. When I step into who I truly am and I'm honest with myself and authentic, that's where the gift of style comes out. It is um, a more self-assured way of being, in a sense. This is my understanding of it. That helps really shine the gifts of the 14, of the competence. When I am really stepping into my own gifts and my own expression, it makes me fully competent, makes me really shine the light of that 14 gene key. So that may help. As I said, this is something to contemplate for yourself. I can help you a little bit, but you'll have to probably do a lot of this work. Maybe it'll just pique your interest, because I'm certainly not going to be able to explain everything to you, but hopefully I'll just pique your interest. So when you're looking at the gene key of your evolution, this is your conscious earth, you'll probably find a very uncomfortable place for you, which what I just shared with you is a very uncomfortable place for me, because I deep down like to see myself as an individual and being, unique and not like everybody else. But I also realize that there's lots of ways in my life where I'm not really fully stepping into that. I'm stepping into it safely, but there's still a lot of shadow element there at times. With each new challenge that I've been presented, especially in the last several years, as I've contemplated these themes and these gene keys, it's become a lot easier to step into that more gift frequency here, because I'm now aware of it and I now understand and I can feel when I'm coming more from a shadow place than from um, the style place for my particular evolution sphere. I mean, this podcast is one part of that. I started this last year after lots of years of hiding and not, really expressing myself the way I thought I could. So I think so we talked about the shadows and uncomfortable part. The gift here in the evolution is qualities that set you apart from others. And again, it's also what grounds you into your physical body. And the siddhi here of this evolution gene key is the essence that's inside of you, the essence of what you're here to do in life. And it's just a good idea to keep that siddhi in mind as you're contemplating these themes. So let's look at the different lines here. If you have a line 1 here, again, that means you're a you're a 1-3 or 1-4 profile. Your evolution here of this sphere, the line 1 is about self empowerment. And so if you have a first line evolution, your primary challenge is to always likely to be about how self assured you feel or how inadequate you feel. This is a challenge that's going to keep presenting yourself. Line ones are often seen as more self focused, self possessed. And sometimes, as a line one, you might see yourself sometimes as your own worst enemy because it is kind of a lonely path as a first line, because the answers are all going to come from inside of yourself. They're not going to come from outside yourself. This is a very introspective profile. And so the evolution sphere here really depends on digging deeply into your aloneness and finding peace there, being okay with being alone, because no one else can empower you or disempower you. Only you can do that for yourself. And so when you meet this challenge, the gifts that you hold here will always empower others to find the same inner strength inside of them. If you have a line two here, line two evolution, the two fours, the two fives, then there's a different set of challenges here. You're about expressing this energy, right? So this expression of energy needs to come as a passion. When you think about your evolution gene key here, you imagine how you might express these qualities with passion. And your challenge here is to listen to and observe feedback from those closest to you. Why is that? Well, remember line two, the natural, but also the hermit. There's a projection here field that the line two doesn't always recognize their own natural talents and abilities. It's natural to them. They don't know what's special. And so they need that feedback from others to let them know that, hey, this is unique about you. This is something that you really uh, are fluid with, that you shine. So that challenge there is to kind of have that balance of, I know you're a hermit, you want to be left alone, but you also need that feedback from others, especially those closest to you. So, in order to truly understand what your gifts are here, you might need to have that attention of those around you to point it out to you. But we already know that, right? So, the line three here on the evolution sphere is all about energy and experience again. It's about change. And as a line three, remember we talked a minute ago about the line three of the life's work being the changer, and that you have to be comfortable with going through the experience. And so when you're looking at the sphere here of evolution, you need to look at it as a journey in your life. It's about experience, remember, not result. It's not about what everybody else thinks it should be. It's about how you experience and what you learn from it. The experience is the journey. You may be someone who's drawn to lots of different things. And when you finally let go of the idea that you're going to get something from all those experiences, a result, let's say, you don't really need a result. You just need the journey. The experience is what is going to help others, good or bad. It's going to help others, and that becomes your gift. Fourth line evolution is all about love and community. Your greatest challenge here, this evolution's challenge, is going to be about finding a balance between being alone and being with others. How do you combine your need uh, of service, to be of service, with your need to be alone? I laugh because that is definitely the biggest challenge in my life. One of them. One of them. But I really feel that this balance between wanting to be with my family, those I care about, wanting to do what I can for them, wanting to help my community around me, but also feeling also at the same time a lot of need to be alone. I just need that. So I have to find the balance there, because of the shadow frequency. The fourth line here, evolution, has a tendency to simply go to one extreme or another. So they either spend too much time with people and collapse from exhaustion, or they just totally close themselves off. So that's not what you want to do here. You want to, if you have fourth line theme here, you want to make sure that you're finding that balance between being with those you love and loving the solitude of your own company. If you have a line five here, again, this is about another projection field, and it's about power and projection. It's about the use of power here. Fifth lines have, remember, that seductive quality to them, because it draws people to them. And it's not something that you consciously do, and you can't really do anything about it. It's just there. But you do have to be very careful about the effect that you have on others because people are going to be drawn to you no matter what. And so, in the shadow frequency, if you're hanging out in the shadow frequency, especially of your evolution here, you're going to always be drawing things, people to you that probably is going to end in disappointment for yourself. Because remember, you're in that shadow frequency, you're not shining your gift there. So, you have to be aware of your power, or else, you can be misinterpreted by people. You've got to really have a deep awareness and understanding of who you are and learning how to express yourself and when to express yourself because you have this influence on people. You can be very seductive, as I said, and very captivating to others. And that means that you really have to have boundaries here. So, when considering the gene key of your evolution sphere, your earth placement here, think about how easily others could misunderstand your gifts, and then you'll be able to take full advantage of that projection. So you can run the narrative there. Basically, know if you're operating from shadow or gift frequency, you get to run the narrative of what it is people are going to see in you. Sixth line here, education and surrender. There's a lot here in the sixth line. Again, remember it's triphasic. It's that overarching view. It is that teacher element that comes with the sixth line. And here you've just got to really understand what the evolution here is about. It's about surrender. We talked about earlier, the sixth line is always asking why, but then the sixth line also kind of has a dream that they've always held on to about themselves or about the world. And in your younger life, you may not even know what that dream is. You just have the essence, the feeling of it. Some may liken it to feeling like they have a mission in life and they're not fulfilling it. And so there is this, this impatience that's built into a line six, but a line six is designed to be more patient. You have the long view in life. And you've got to have that long term view because you have to go through the different phases to really gain the wisdom about what the essence is here. And so as you mature and as you go through life, those dreams may change. That mission may change. You might not remember what it was in the first place. But what like I always say is that line six just need to have that patience. They just need to surrender to the experience of life, take in the experiences, go up on the roof, and it will be revealed to you in time. So now we're going to move over to the radiance sphere. So this is your unconscious sun placement. So when we were looking at the life's work and the evolution, we're talking about the four prime gifts here. Those two are your outer prime gifts. Those are the conscious placements. Those are what are seen by the world. And once you work through the shadows, and you're not going to, like I said, you're not going to get rid of them all, but we're just working with the shadows and understanding them here. You start to unlock your gifts. Your light starts to shine a little bit more. The true essence of you starts to shine a little bit more. And it can unlock something that was previously hidden from you, which he calls your radiance, right? This is the light that starts to break through the cracks. He calls the pathway here in between these two this breakthrough, basically. So, if the simplest way to look at it is once you kind of work with those first couple spheres, contemplating it, your line placements there, what it means to have that side of your profile, your design, and how that affects or flavors the gates, the spheres there. You're building that foundation, right? You start to get a better understanding of yourself, and your prime gifts start to shine light a little bit more. And this starts to work over to the design side of your body graph or your hologenetic profile, however you want to see it. This side is more of the physicality of your body. Your light starts to shine through your DNA. Your aura is expanding. Your radiance is growing. You have this electromagnetic glow to you. Your physical body, your vitality, your aura starts to get bigger and shine. So when he's talking about the radiance sphere here, he describes it like a GPS that keeps you healthy by pointing you towards the right people and right experiences. Your shadow here is when you're looking at the shadow of this sphere, this is something, a powerful force that can really undermine your whole life. You must look really deeply at this pattern because it probably represents an inner motivating force that, you can't consciously grasp, and it may be revelatory to you when you first see it. But the more you contemplate it, you might start to get a deeper understanding that there is this unconscious theme here that is at play a lot, and it can kind of derail you if you're not aware of it. These are the more nebulous things to have to work with. Okay. But if you let that shadow rule your life, you're going to find yourself out of kilter with really the whole basic rhythm of life. So, really look at the shadows there and be open to what it's telling you. There probably will be some resistance there. I know there can be. It might be something that, well, all shadows, we can have resistance to it, but I find this one a little bit harder to deal with. That may be true for you, maybe not, but because really you don't like to see your shadows, but just trust me, just stick with it and dig into it. Because remember, every shadow has a gift. And so the sign that your radiance gift is starting to show through is that you just naturally become a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more yourself, a little more settled in your own skin. And if you've been working with the shadows in the outer world, it's now time to move inward. And you may also find that there's a lot more synchronicity in your life, more right place, right time, because remember, path of least resistance here. You're setting the foundation here for that kind of existence. So you're starting to shine your radiance, the light's getting through because your life just really gets a little bit easier. So if you have a first line radiance, remember it's this healthy expression, this what keeps you pointed in the right direction, so to say. The first line here is all about the first line here is all about solitude. Your first line radiance, you require a lot of solitude in order to achieve breakthrough. If you look at the gene key of your radiance and it's a first line, consider how the shadow of that gene key may unsettle your inner quiet. If you have a first line radiance, you probably need to spend time alone in physical solitude, and this could have an effect on where you and how you live. So remember, this is important to your well being, having that chance, opportunity to be alone. If you have a line two, theme here is marriage, but it's not necessarily a literal interpretation. Your radiance here requires, again, that biofeedback rather than solitude. You need something to be married to, in relationship with. So your radiance may emerge more when you're in nature and movement or both. You need to be in relationship with something or someone. If you think about two being two, there's not one, there's two. There's a line two there. It needs to be in relationship with something. So when you're looking at the gene key here of your radiance, contemplate how it might naturally flow some kind of relationship in sense of what do you love doing? Who do you love being with? What do you want to marry your life force with? Remember that passion, that's important here. So, second lines often find one thing or one person or one place that really lights them up. And that is really what helps their radiance to shine, their attention to that. Because remember, that's the natural. It's whatever you do naturally. You really need to keep that in mind. So if you have a third line radiance, you also need feedback, but it's a little different. You don't need it in solitude or in relation to other people. You need it through change and diversity. So if you have a third line radiance, you're probably going to thrive more on the move in life. You may tend to love to travel, may love to be in a certain place because it provides a lot of diversity, like a big city or something like that. There's just somewhere that things are changing because The radiance here, the interaction is not about the results, but it's about that exchange of energy. You need to keep things moving in a sense. And so you need to have the thrill of life to or achieve your breakthroughs. If you have a line 4, it's all about friendship. Fourth line radiance represents the path of the humanitarian. It's a radiance that's rooted in aloneness, but it's directed towards helping other people specifically. Because remember, it's a stabilizing foundation as well. Relationships is the foundation there, but it's meant to create strong foundations in relationships. So, on a personal level, your body is going to thrive, your health, your well being is going to thrive when you're in the company of those you love and trust. The worst thing you can do for your body or for your health is to cut yourself off from your community. So keep that in mind if you have a fourth line radiance. Looking at you, 2 4s and 1 4s. The fifth line, again, about impact. The fifth line radiance has a higher purpose designed to have a wide impact in society. And it's also very mysterious again. So if you have that fifth line radiance, other people can sense something about you that you may be able to help them. It doesn't matter what your outer role is. People are going to be drawn to you. So as this can has the tendency for the fifth line to want to hide because of unwelcome projections. But the more you shy away from your power, the more you're going to be hiding your light. So, as long as you can be very, very clear with yourself and with others about what you are promising and what you can offer, then you will have positive experiences and your reputation will grow. Um, Remember, you are here to impact people on a very, very wide level. So, as you contemplate your gifts here in this radiant sphere, think about how that you might use these gifts in a way to bring change and transformation to the collective. If you have a sixth line here in your radiance, the theme here is nurturing. And again, this is about patience and this is about going through the experience, holding the dream, having the long view. And you need to be patient as this dream unfolds through every experience that comes your way. And that is an opportunity to polish the dream, to let it grow, to nurture it, to give it more definition because your gift here is designed to emerge over the long term. So as you're looking at this and if you have a six line radiance here, depending on your life, where you're at in your life is going to probably be expressing a little bit different. If you're under 50, you probably are not fully aware of what these gifts may be. You can start to get an idea of it and you can certainly contemplate it, but still life has a lot to show you. So that's just something to keep in mind, that there is this long-term view here, patience, nurturing. You will get there. I promise you. So as we go towards the last sphere here, which is it calls your purpose, you're going to see that there has been this sequence that's really all about how you deal with challenges in your life. And the basic tenets here are no matter who you are, where you live, or what you're doing, you're going to have challenges in life and you need to either embrace them or you're going to falter. It's how we react, which determines whether or not we're having a breakdown or breakthrough. Are you reacting to life? Are you just operating from the shadow? Or are you responding? What does responding mean? It means you're taking a beat. You're not just instantly going from default behaviors. When you respond, you're choosing how you respond. And that's where your gifts start to shine. So as you meet these challenges by responding, your radiance starts to shine. And then you have this core stability about you, which he calls this next pathway between the radiant sphere and the purpose sphere, this core stability about you. And what this is about becoming more rooted and comfortable in your physical body. And also, if you're looking at where these gene keys are placed, this is your unconscious earth, right? This is in the body side of the design. And this stability here is not a rigidity. It is more of a flexibility. It is, again, how you respond to life. The radiance sphere and the purpose sphere are also programming partners. It's a unconscious sun and earth placement, so there is a tension there. And it's an unconscious force that kind of is always propelling you along. Your purpose here, the purpose sphere here, is what's really deeply fulfilling to you. And as it is placed at the end of this particular sequence, this activation sequence, it shows you that it's kind of a relief that purpose is not really anything that you do or achieve. It's really about resting more deeply in who you really are. Because if you look at this through a sequence, you saw what we have to go through, the shadows of the life's work and the evolution there, the tension there. How do we meet challenges in life? And we start to become more comfortable in our own skin in who we are, that we can settle more deeply into what our true purpose is here, which is being ourselves. So when you look at the 6 lines of the purpose sphere, you'll notice that they all concern certain aspects or elements of the physical body, working in the physical body. Because again, we're getting more settled in who we are here in this physical realm. As such, in the physical realm, what are we? But we are just consciousness inside these physical shells. That's our real purpose, is to be here now. So one of the hardest things for us to do is to come to that understanding of just being, because we're just really taught to always be doing. But this is the experience of being. So when you contemplate the gene key that relates to your purpose, this would be your unconscious earth. Consider how the shadow here works at an unconscious level to pull you away from the simple joy of just being alive, just being here now. And there is a lot of depth to this shadow pattern here. It is in the unconscious part of your design. It can be hard to see it at work, but if you continue to contemplate and really do the work here, you will see that at the shadow level frequency of this gene key, you'll not feel at home in your body and you'll not be able to feel stable and calm. This is where you react rather than respond. The gift here, the unconscious earth placement, your purpose, your gift here in your unconscious earth, your gifts emerge as you attend to what it is that's been hidden inside you. How is it hidden inside you? Well, if you remember the unconscious realm here, these shadows, these gifts are grounded in the memory of a collective past. This is your ancestral DNA. The gifts here can emerge as you come to terms with the past and learn to forgive and accept the shadow patterns that you have inherited from your parents and your grandparents and so on. There is a lot of um, things there that need to be healed, and the more I have gone along this journey, I've realized that my mind wants to make sense of everything and wants to put everything in a place and wants to know where it came from. Like I have these um logical ways of wanting to look at things and wanting to make sense of things, but my knowingness through this contemplation has shown to me that quite often some of these shadows, a lot of these shadows, we don't know where they come from. And it's not necessarily it's not necessarily necessary. It's not necessarily important to know where they came from because they might not have come from your actual experience. This is the realm of epigenetics. This is where things that have happened before we were even born are encoded in our DNA. They're there. And having this map here to show us the sequence, this hologenetic profile, the human design body graph, whatever you want to look at, it shows us where those shadows can be hiding and how they can express themselves. And that's, again, what I love about the Gene Keys work, is that it can show you so clearly. It can shine a light on that shadow so that you can start bringing light to that shadow and bring the gifts forth. And again, at the Citic level here, this is a special gift that's given to you by the universe, the gods, whatever you want to call it, brought here to the purpose, brought here to earth to express this purpose, this ideal is the acidic expression here, is the ideal, the essence of this archetype that you're here to bring into the physical plane. So, if you have a line one purpose, remember that your radiance comes about in seeking solitude that grounds you. Here, this helps uh, point your GPS what's best for you. You have to have a certain amount of solitude in order to get to that. This solitude further requires you to, if you think about being aloneness, when you're alone, you just have yourself, right? And so, this grounding here points us to that we need to pay attention to the physical body if you are line one. The body is a temple, and that's how the first line needs to view it. So if you have a first line purpose, then the quality of this gene key has to be deeply anchored into your physicality. So the health and the vitality of the body is very important for a line one. Doesn't mean you have to be a health nut or anything like that, but the purpose is you're here to enjoy being alive in the body, to enjoy good food, and to take in physical activity. This is the central approach to life. It is literally feeling with your body what is around you and enjoying life. It's embodied living for yourself, for all things on earth to be in interaction with this. And as such, he likens in the gene in the sequence here, he likens the first line, physicality, to like the bones of the body. This is the foundation, this is the structure. And so he says, with the first line purpose, you're called to be a record keeper for the mysteries of the past. And these hold the foundations for what needs to come forward to survive and thrive. Remember, we're talking about the unconscious side here, the design. So, this is understanding the mysteries of the past to create new foundations. The line two, second line purpose, is all about fluids and posture. It's relating to the spine because the second line brings movement to the structure of the bones. It's your physical posture. Your natural genius isn't going to shine through the dancer. You don't see the dancer slumped over in this more concave, defeated position. It's being open, it's being fluid, it's moving, it's finding the structure of the bones, but being able to express it with a fluid movement. It is the spine. And so the strength of a spine is in its flexibility. So your purpose is fulfilled with the joy that you derive from being in a body that's constantly responding to the environment. It's the expression of structure as flow as opposed to stillness. And so looking at the gene key of your purpose through the second line, the gift will emerge as you learn to let your body flow in deep inner rhythms to be in harmony with life, to be effortless. Line three purpose here, it's about movement again, but this is the movement of blood. It's related to blood. Line three is always riding the currents of change, and their stability in life comes through movement and energy. It's dynamic, it's electric, it's things that move you into action. And he symbolizes it by the blood because that depends on movement and change. Your life is rich in travel, adventure, experience. You need that in order to thrive. You need regular physical exertion and exercise in order to be alive and grounded through exercise, connection to earth rhythms. You don't need consistency. That traps you. You need change. Line four in the physical is the breath. It's rhythm. It's about bringing us into harmony, the deeper rhythms of life. You know, that resonance when you start, breathing, people will all start breathing at a certain level in the room. How many times have you heard a meditation or you're watching TV and they're like, take a deep breath, and everybody goes, we all do it. Because it's all about getting in sync, creating harmony. And the air that we breathe is what connects us to each other. So the fourth line has that gift again for connecting with others, people, others, people, animals. And with a fourth line purpose, you tend to move into communion with others very naturally. Your stability comes from connecting through friendship and service. And you will feel most at home in your body and on earth when you are surrounded by those you love. And so your purpose is felt as an urge to bring others into harmony and to bring others onto the same patterns of breath, bringing everyone together. The fifth line, now, this is again, we're building on this theme, and the breath moves to voice, to vibration, to tone. So the fifth line is all about voice and frequency. And so when you consider a fifth line purpose, you're really seeing a gift that must be spoken and shared. It's about having an impact, and this means the essence, the purpose must be vibrated as a frequency through the voice. Your core stability here as a fifth line is connected to the way you communicate with others. So you might find as a fifth line here that you have to have an honest and authentic way of communicating. If you're having a really bad day, anything you say, anything that you bring forth like that is really going to probably affect everything around you and probably make it worse because your frequency of your vibration of your voice that helps you gain or lose stability. So you can regain stability through the voice here as well. So through chanting or singing, something that can bring you back into alignment to that higher vibrational place is a good thing for you. As a fifth line, you're meant to have impact. And so your purpose will most likely also be fulfilled through some form of leadership. And then lastly, as we get to the sixth line here of your purpose, if we're talking about the physicality, the sixth line here is represented by the cells of the body. We can see this as a cellular awareness that's streamed through the whole body and all of our cells. If you have a sixth line purpose, then fulfillment comes to the realization that your essence really is the thing that does the talking. So we went from the bones to the spine to the blood to the breath to the voice. And now we're talking about the essence of this sphere, this theme is filling throughout the whole body in a line six. It encompasses all the understandings, all the physicality there. And that's why it says it's in the cells of the body. And it literally is this physicalness that is expanding out beyond the physical body. It is the aura, it is the essence. That is the line six purpose here. Because regardless of how you express this purpose, you're going to convey it through the frequency of your aura. Again, we want to be operating from the gift frequency, not the shadow frequency, because it's going to be felt by others around you. And that brings us to the end of this sequence. And this, my friends, was the simplest I could make it. So if it was too much for you, I apologize. Maybe it's just too much for right now. Maybe you could go back and listen to it again. But in order to wrap this up, I want to say, well, what is this all for? What is this about? Well, here's a good thing, first of all. If this seems like a lot right now, that's okay, because this is not something that you're going to get to the end of necessarily. I've been contemplating these gene keys for a couple years now, and each time I pull it up, even as I prepare these episodes for you, I learned something so new on how to put it all together. Really, this time was really having this understanding of this sequence and how it all works together. I've read it many times, I've contemplated it, and now I can see more clearly what he's talking about in order to hopefully lay the path for you, or at least pique your interest, as I said. But most importantly, here, remember that this is a lifelong process. You're going to always be with the foundations, these four pillars here. You're going to be revisiting this a lot because it is the foundation for the rest of what is you and what you are going to unlock the gifts later on. When you really have a solid understanding in these four gene keys, the rest of it is a lot easier, I think, to start to contemplate and integrate. Now, he says you don't have to necessarily do it in this order. If you're someone that's been on the path for a while of any other personal development, this may come a little bit easier to you because you're probably not afraid of addressing shadows or looking at them. But, if you want to dive into the pearl sequence, you certainly can. But it's kind of like when you talk about strategy and authority type strategy and authority, it's the foundations. And I feel like getting really solid in this part of the sequence can really start to magically change lots of things in your life that you may not have to effort as much through, is if you get this foundation solid here. So really, the sequence is to reveal to you the purpose of your life and the purpose of all life, which is just to be that expression, that higher expression of consciousness in the physical world, in this body, because we're all here interacting with each other. And the more we can embrace who we are and allow our gifts to shine, allow our light to shine, the better it is for everybody around us. And that just has that rippling effect out into the world. So, anyways, that was a lot of talking today. And I appreciate you listening. And again, I hope this helped you in some way. Maybe it piqued your interest into digging into the gene keys a little bit more, or it may have pushed you in the exact opposite direction. I don't want to deal with that right now. And that's fine too. That's cool. You want to stick with anything else? That's fine. I'm not offended. But I just really want you to know, as a line 4, that I offer this to you with the greatest intent that it's helped me, and I hope it helps you as well. So with that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, if you have any questions or anything, you can always reach out to me at dana@humandesignhive.com or check me out on Instagram. You can find me there. And I love chatting with you, so please reach out. But I hope you have a wonderful day, and thanks for listening. Well, you made it all the way to the end of today's episode, so you must have liked what you heard. If you did, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode, and perhaps leave us a good review. And if you know someone who wants to dig into all things human design with us, make sure you share the Human Design Hive podcast with them. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.